Hey, welcome to the Sunday preview for this 27th of June, and it's the 13th Sunday in Ordinary Time. So we have this great miracle story from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 5. And it says, when Jesus had crossed again to the boat on the other side, a large crowd gathered around him, and he stayed close to the sea. One of the synagogue officials, named Jairus, came forward. Seeing him, he fell at his feet and pleaded earnestly with him, saying, "My daughter is at the point of death. Please come and lay your hands on her, that she get well and live." He went off with him, and a large crowd followed him and pressed upon him. There was a woman afflicted with hemorrhages for 12 years. She had suffered greatly at the hands of many doctors and had spent all she had. Yet she was not helped, but only grew worse. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak. She said, "If I but touch his clothes, I shall be cured." Immediately her flow of blood dried up. She felt in her body that she was healed of the affliction. And Jesus, aware at once that the power had gone out of him, turned around in the crowd and said, "Who has touched my clothes?" But his disciples said to Jesus, "You see how the crowd is pressing upon you, and yet you ask, 'Who touched me?'" And he looked around to see who had done it. The woman, realizing what had happened to her, approached in fear and trembling. She fell down before Jesus and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has saved you. Go in peace and be cured of your affliction." While he was still speaking, people from the synagogue official's house arrived and said, "Your daughter has died. Why trouble the teacher any longer?" Disregarding the message that was reported, Jesus said to the synagogue official, "Do not be afraid. Just have faith." He did not allow anyone to accompany him inside except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they arrived at the house of the synagogue officials, he caught sight of a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. So he went in and said to them, "Why this commotion and weeping? The child is not dead, but asleep." And they ridiculed him. And he put them all out. He took along the child's father and mother, and those who were with him, and entered the room where the child was. And he took the child by the hand and said, "Talitha cum," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." The girl, a child of 12, rose immediately and walked around. At that they were utterly astounded. He gave strict orders that no one should know this, and that they should give something for her to eat. The Gospel of the Lord. Well, two great stories there and two great miracles. Kind of one miracle inserted into the other. It's almost as if these miracles just keep happening and Jesus can't even control them. With the woman coming up in the crowd and touching on his cloak and saying, "If I just touch his clothes, I'll be healed." Jesus seemed not even to realize what was going on. He didn't even consciously choose to do the miracle. The gospel says the power went out from him, and then he realized what had happened. Wow. I think it just highlights for us that obviously it's the power of Jesus that can do anything and any miracle. And yet that power is activated by our faith, right? I mean, there were so many people touching Jesus, but only one was cured. Only one woman had that kind of faith. And she had the experience of having tried everything and putting her faith in so many doctors and so many other solutions and remedies and potions. And nothing worked except Christ. And now she was ready to trust him. But it's the faith that makes the miracle work. Right? And in a similar way with Jairus, the synagogue official, he came out searching for Jesus, desperate to save his daughter. And in a hurry, too. You can almost feel the impatience of Jairus because he's down to the bottom of the ninth inning and this is his last shot. And he's pulling on Jesus to come to his house, and they're interrupted by this other miracle. But Jesus knows that it's Jairus' faith that's drawing him to his daughter. Do we have that kind of faith? If we do, we can probably count on some miracles happening. But I think a lot of the time we don't approach the things we ask God with that kind of simple, childlike, trusting faith. We almost expect God to do miracles for us, and we feel put out if a miracle doesn't happen, as if we deserve that, as if we deserve to be miraculously healed or cured by God or have our problems solved. And we don't really put much effort into really cultivating that simple, trusting faith in a good God who loves us. In other words, sometimes we're a little bit selfish in our demand and we feel like we're owed something. And that's the opposite of humble, trusting faith. We got to start from an understanding of a good and gracious God who wants to love us and bless us and put all our trust in him. Let's ask for that gift of that kind of faith.